last remaining Turkish Ottoman Muslim mosque. It's a little bit lower than other places I've been, understandably, but it's still cool that they're doing it. So, where we were in the story was the ending of the Bulgarian, Eastern Orthodox, Byzantine influenced Serbians were coming in, the Crusades were happening, and a lot of crazy stuff was happening in this region right here, standing in actually the Roman ruins. So the Muslim powers of the world, Allah Akbar, have been gaining a lot of strength for the previous 600 years before the time I'm talking about. From Spain to Morocco to Iraq to Saudi Arabia to Turkey. So the Ottoman Empire arose from the break of the Sejuk Caliphate of the Turkic peoples. Remember I talked about Turkics before, in Anatolia area, a little bit south of here. They actually at first aligned with the Byzantines in 1329, which worked out for a while, but then in the 1350s, the Ottomans were like, you know, we need to take these people over. They started attacking and conquering Byzantine lands, like here. Well, this was Bulgarian. So the Western Catholic Crusaders from France, Germany, many other nations, came in to fight the Ottomans, but lost. And many Bulgarians actually were caught in the crossfire and killed for being Orthodox Christian by the Crusaders, which is something that affects Bulgarians to this day. Like, they thought they were, it's very sad. So the Bulgarian leadership at the time, because of this heinous act by Catholics, by killing countryside people, decided that maybe joining with the Ottomans wasn't that bad of a choice. And they agreed, the Bulgarian Tsar, because of their weakened state from all the stuff that happened before, to be a vassal of the Ottomans in 1371, which a vassal is like, you have independence and autonomy and sovereignty, but you have to like pay money to someone more powerful than you. But this wasn't enough for the Ottomans, who conquered Sofia right here. This is the new name of the city, by the way, which I didn't mention earlier, which was named after Saint Sophia Church over there. So in 1382, the Ottomans, Turkish, conquered the city and all of Bulgaria. And Bulgaria and this city, Sofia, was a part of the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Yoke, as it was called, 1382 to 1878. Many mosques, this is the last surviving one, were built. Many churches were converted to mosques. A lot of Turkish people came in the city. Some interesting events were 1443, a Hungarian-Polish liberating force came in and briefly retook the city, but it soon fell again to the Ottomans. They were that strong in the early times. 1453, the Ottomans famously took over Constantinople and renamed it Istanbul, crushing the Byzantine Empire forever. And the last vestiges of the Roman Empire were gone. Islam take over. They renamed it, and it remains Turkey to this day. During this time here, many Muslims were moving in. Many mosques were built, like I explained. Old churches were converted to mosques, which is nice that they didn't destroy them. You know, they just kind of converted it. Mosques were built like this, which still stands, the last one. Many Bulgarians were accepted as, with their Christian faiths, during the time, but they were considered second-class citizens. Many Turkish moved in, but you know, it obviously isn't their homeland. Some good things happened during this time. Admittedly, you know, a lot of Bulgarians want to tell you this. A lot of Jewish people moved here, actually, for more freedom from the Catholic West, because they were getting persecuted in Western Europe. And the city was actually a very diverse, religiously and ethnic place of many different peoples and religions.
Huh.
Catholics even moved in here. A few, to add to the diversity, but it was Muslim rule. So the Ottoman times were not all bad, but some things were very bad, like the blood tax, which required all firstborn Bulgarian sons to be enlisted into the Ottoman army that was created to repel rebellion in the empire, especially Bulgarian rebellions. A local actually told us about this. Imagine you have a son, you have to give your son away as a baby. Shit's crazy. And their main job and purpose of life was to kill other Bulgarians. Whew. All right, well, during the Ottoman times, there were several rebellions. The outside influenced it by like Austria and Russia over the centuries, as well as internally, Bulgarians were like trying to get their own footing. The 1600s, the 1800s were really intense. They were in the 1700s, after the American Revolution, there was the French Revolution, so Bulgaria was influenced by that to get away from Ottoman rule. A lot of nationalistic stuff happened. And this led up to, with the Ottoman Empire in deep decline, by the way, in the last few hundred years of its existence. This led up to the Russians, the powerful Russian czars of the north coming in, helping their Orthodox friends, the Cyrillic speaking peoples, similar-ish Slavic stuff, into the 1877-1878 Turco-Russian War, which liberated Bulgaria from Muslim Ottoman rule forever. So in the waning years of the Ottoman times, there was a lot of nationalistic sentiment. Bulgarians from the 1600s to 1800s that I just talked with you about. During the 1700s, a lot of it was inspired by the French Revolution. Bulgarians leading to a national revival of the Bulgarian state, which in 1878, the Russians to the north of here came in the Turco-Russian War and defeated the Ottomans and kicked out the Turks from Bulgaria after 500 years or so of rule. And the Bulgarian state was once again formed, the modern state. There's St. Cyril and Methodist, the creator of Cyrillic writing, Bulgarian Greek, Eastern Orthodox Church heroes. This is a church of Sofia University. So around this time, 1800s, late 1800s, 1878, 80s, 90s, it was kind of like a mini golden era for Bulgaria. You know, here we have Sofia University. A lot of education started. A lot of people started learning about the world more and opening up, and French people were coming here and opening schools, and a lot of British investment, and some interesting stuff was going on. It was a good time for Bulgaria, you know, right around the turn of the century, 1900s. A lot of buildings were built. The Russians helped them out to get the Bulgarian state again. Most Muslims, after Ottoman rule ended, left. But there still is about a 12% population in the city. So 1880s, the 1910s was a little mini golden era. There was building projects and grand buildings like this probably was built, and the mosques were turned back into Eastern Orthodox churches, except for one that's still there, that were originally churches but turned to mosques, and some were built. Anyways, 1911 is when things started getting crazy. The Balkan Wars. ended the Ottoman Empire all around in Europe forever, which here ended in 1878, but they still had control over areas like Kosovo and Macedonia and Serbia and some other spots, Greece, I think, around there. So that ended Ottoman Muslim control forever in Europe. Turkish control. Serbia, Greece, and Bulgaria, and Romania all really bickered over the new territory. They kind of were fighting. In 1913, Romania attacked Bulgaria. They were trying to figure out the borders, and it was a lot of confusing strife, which this time started. 1914 was World War I. Very horrible war. Bulgaria was initially neutral, which, you know, after years of conquest and war, I get it, but they were dragged into the war, and which most countries were. And in 1915, they actually sided with Austria, Hungarian Empire, Germany, and their former conquerors, the Ottomans, which shocked the Russians and others who helped Bulgaria on the other side, like Britain and France, and the U.S. Later, the U.S. The reason the Bulgarian leadership chose this was the other side, the Central Powers, they were called, Germany and Austria, offered them more land, I guess, if they won, or offered them more riches, I'm not sure. So they invaded Serbia in World War I, and sadly, Bulgaria lost more people per capita than any other country in Europe during that time. 100,000 dead, 300,000 wounded, and the loss, which Germany and Austria and the Ottomans lost World War I, devastated Bulgaria in many ways because of the treaties signed, just like Germany and other places. A lot of economic strife and interwar. Bulgaria was like a lot of places, you know, movement, a lot of political movements and strikes, and they're inspired by the Russian Bolshevik Revolution to start up a bunch of stuff. And it was kind of crazy time, the interwar period. Briefly peaceful, although then in World War II began, 1939. Initially, Bulgarian wanted to be neutral, and they were inspired, though, by initially the Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany were on the same side in World War II, so they joined that side, Bulgaria. But I've read not really on their own will. What it came down to, I heard, was the Nazis told Bulgarians that they wanted to go through Bulgaria to invade Greece, and they pretty much said, either we blow through you and you don't let us, so we'll kill and pillage on our way through, or you could join us. So the Bulgarian leadership had a deal they couldn't refuse, kind of sounded like, and they joined the Axis powers. But the Bulgarian leaders did some heroic things. They refused the Nazis to incriminate the Bulgarian Jews, saving tens of thousands of lives. And they also refused to send soldiers to the front, especially against their Orthodox kin, the Soviet Russians. And the US, though, and the UK, this was still on the other side. They bombed the city of Sofia, not heavily like some places where they're completely leveled, but there was some damage. 1943-44. And in seeing how the war was turning, Bulgaria in 1944 actually switched sides again to the side of the US and Britain and Russia. And the Soviets came in and liberated the city in 1944. 1946 and 48, the Soviet-inspired People's Republic of Bulgaria was started, communism. Many construction projects were built, actually. The city grew really rapidly. But also the government did some pretty bad stuff, like sending religious, political, or intellectual dissidents to disappear or go into gulags or worse. You know, that was the worst up, though, till about 1970. So the 50s and 60s were bad. The Soviet tactics in Bulgaria were not so popular in the 70s and 80s. They began to open up more, especially to their Balkan neighbors. However, there were some remnants of the Ottoman Empire Muslims during this time, and something happened in the 70s and 80s up to 1989 where they wanted to assimilate all Muslims to no longer be Turkish, and 300,000 Turkish people ended up fleeing in the 70s and 80s or being forced out. Then the Soviet internal economic instability led to the end of the communist government there, socialist government, in 1989. So that ended that rule here also. And the Bulgarian government transitioned to a pro-Western and now government, and now is a member of NATO and the European Union. You can see the flag up there with the Bulgarian flag in the library. And up until this day, 2019, and that's Sofia Bulgaria history. Make sure you subscribe if you want to hear about more of my historic travels videos. Sign on to my Instagram, Away with Ray Ray, Geo Journal, ray.za, z.a, I'm sorry, ray.z.a, Reza. It's my Instagram. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook. Sofia.